Hi, my name is Brian Beabout, and I'd like to welcome you to the orientation video for EDAD 6800, a course entitled School Leadership. The purpose of this video is to give you an orientation for the course expectations, the timeline, the assignments, so that things are very clear before we get started. Important to know is that the timelines for this course are pretty rapid. We cover a semester's worth of material in only an 8-week summer session, and so you do not want to get behind in any sort of your reading or field work or written assignments. And so this video is an attempt to make sure that everybody's properly oriented to the course, and so that when due dates start coming, you're feeling prepared. Particularly important in the summer when people may be taking vacations is that we have fixed deadlines for assignments, and you're turning in things once or twice a week as we go through. So if you have extended periods where you're going to be unavailable, not have computer access, or not be able to complete the work, then this may not be the summer to take this class, because we move through at a pretty intense pace once things get started. If you don't have your syllabus in front of you, it's accessible on our course Moodle site, which you can get to by logging in with your UNO username and ID from the main UNO page. Since you're enrolled in this course, you should have access to our 6800 Moodle page. Here's the syllabus. You may want to have this either up on your screen or print it out so you can refer to it. I'm going to sort of walk you through the syllabus here for the rest of this video, making sure that expectations and procedures are clear. I've been teaching this course online for about 6 years, and I feel like students get probably more out of the online version than they were getting out of the on-campus version, because our dialogues can be somewhat more extended, and we can be a little bit more thoughtful in the way we prepare. So if you're new to online learning, welcome, and I'll try to make it pleasant for you. If you're an old hack at online learning, then I hope this meets your expectations. I'm going to start by going through the syllabus and make sure you have that out if you need it. First, this is a Moodle course, and so you should have, if you found the link to this video, you should have access to that. Almost all of your course submissions will be done via Moodle. There's also a field experience requirement, which you see on page 2 of the syllabus. You're going to have to engage in 15 hours of field experiences over the course of this semester, which means you'll need access to a school for some of those, or at a minimum educators for some of those. It doesn't have to be a school you work at, but it needs to be a operating school. None of our assignments really require students, since this is typically a summer course, but access to educators and a facility are important. 5 of those field experiences hours are going to come through the course of completing course assignments, and the other 10 are going to be self-selected. You'll see in the back of your syllabus there is a list of suggested field experiences for 6800, which is a menu of sorts to choose from when selecting your 10 self-selected experiences, although that's by no means the only allowable activities you could use. For those of you who are in a certification program, either the principal alternative certification or our master's certification program, you're going to need to create a live text portfolio that's going to be used as your comp exam if you're in a master's program, and your final examination if you're in the alt-cert program. It's also going to be where you're going to store your field experience hours for both of those programs, and that's in the very back of your syllabus. The last page gives you directions for how to set up and pay for your live text portfolio. You'll want to take care of that early in the semester, because you'll be accountable for having some work turned in that portfolio by the end. For those of you who are in the course that aren't in a certification program, you don't need to purchase live text an account. You can submit your field experiences through an Excel spreadsheet that I have in our Moodle site, but you do want to have that in case you apply to the program at some later point. You will need the field experiences logged into live text, but as I said, not required for students who aren't in the program right now. You'll see the required text on the bottom of that second page. We have 4 texts we use. I have 3 of them on my desk here, and so I'll hold them up briefly. The first is How Teachers Become Leaders. I feel like since this is an intro course for the leadership program, the focus of this text not on the principalship or school leaders, but on teachers navigating their role as leaders in a school building from the classroom is an important place to start. And so we're going to start with this book. This will be your first text that you'll go through, so this is the one you're going to want to get first if you're ordering online. It's by Ann Lieberman, one of the founding voices in the field of educational change, which happens to be my research interest most narrowly. And she's retired from Stanford University School of Education. The second text we're going to look at is Michael Fullen's Leading in a Culture of Change. That's going to be the middle portion of our course. He uses a combination of school examples and corporate examples on how leaders manage the change process. And this is going to be the basis for our midterm exam, and so you'll want to have that read very carefully so that you can apply it when we get to the midterm. The midterm exam is based on a children's book entitled The Big Orange Splot, which I don't have. It's in my kids' bookshelf because they like to read it occasionally, and I don't have it here at the office. But you'll want to pick up a copy of that. It's going to be the basis for applying the lessons you've learned from Fullen, using that story as somewhat of a metaphor we can use to apply it for. So I'm not insulting your intelligence by having you purchase a picture book for your graduate level course, but I think once you finish Fullen and look at the Big Orange Splot, I think you'll find pretty remarkable similarities, and you'll understand why I'm asking you to take a peek at it. We'll finish up with the classic organizational theory text by Bowman and Deal, Reframing Organizations. I have here the 4th edition. They have a 5th edition out, which you are welcome to get. Either one will do. Mostly you're going to use that for your final paper, which is going to be done independently. We're not going to do that as a full class, and so whether you have an older or newer edition doesn't make too much difference. I'm not going to be assigning chapters out of that. You'll be sort of self-selecting what you need to get your final paper done. All those books are available in the bookstore and in all online formats. They're mostly relatively inexpensive. You'll see in the next few pages we have course objectives and alignment with state standards, which won't mean very much to you, those of you beginning the program, but they'll come to mean quite a bit as you move through the program. But I won't take too much time to discuss those now. I want to look at our field experience. As I mentioned earlier, there's two types. There's required field experiences that we do as part of a course assignment, and elective field experiences which you choose to do that are going to further your development according to what you feel like you need to lead this type of school you want to work in, whether that's where you are working now or a different type of school. There's the 5 field experiences that we're going to do together are listed there. They're called FE1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. FE1 is the model of change, which is an interview. FE2 is examining relationships, which is a bit of ethnography in a school place where there's adults working. FE3 is professional learning, where you're going to examine a professional development experience as if it were a lesson, and you're going to conduct an observation on that lesson. FE4 is a culture walk, which is going to be you're just going to use a school facility to look at the symbolism of how our schools are decorated, put together, and constructed, because the way we built our schools tells us a lot about what we expect to go on there. So I think people usually find that as a very interesting assignment. And the last one is the diverse perspectives, which is another interview assignment where you're going to speak with multiple educators about a hot button issue at your school, whatever that may be, and just understand the multiple issues that are at play. While part of leadership development is a series of technical skills about managing and mapping curriculum, supervising and improving instruction in a building, the flip side of that is that a lot of leadership is softer skills. It is human relations, it is building trust with the team, building a sense of cohesion around a common vision, and the diverse perspectives field experience is set up for you to work on your listening skills and your ability to deal with conflicting viewpoints on an issue and muddle through. The bulk of our course time is going to happen in online discussions, which are located in Moodle. We have 7 online units. over the 8-week course, and each one of those is typically going to consist of a couple of chapters out of a textbook, one of our assigned textbooks, and then a article reading that is sort of set up in counterpoint to what's presented in the article. And each online week, you're going to submit a 500-word response that is going to integrate both of those readings in your professional experiences. And the objective is for you to sort of interrogate what you saw in the readings and show what you learned. It's not a diary entry where you're simply talking about your professional experiences on the topic that was in the readings. I want to see reference to the readings, and I want to see that you're applying those to your case. So what I'm looking there for is a mix between drawing in your professional experiences and integrating that with what you came across in the readings. Whatever readings are assigned that week, they all ought to make an appearance in your 500-word post. And those posts are going to count for 21% of the course grade. You also have participation in online dialogue. Each week, each student is expected to provide a 125-word response to at least 3 of their classmates' responses. I'm not looking for "I agree" 2 words and you're done, but I'm looking for substantive dialogue that can be supporting what they said with an example from your own experience. That can be a disagreement, if done civilly, with an alternative perspective to what was the original author presented, and it can be an interrogation of the ideas. But what I want to mimic is what a classroom discussion would be, and if you're active in classroom dialogue, then I find like you would get a lot out of this course. Important in this is that each online discussion session is worth 7% of your grade. So if you have a week where you're MIA and you're in the woods somewhere, that your course grade is going to get reduced by 7%. I can't give late credit for dialogue when the dialogue's already happened. So a reminder to stay on the schedule with online dialogues, otherwise you find yourself losing points awfully quickly. And I also encourage folks to read almost daily what's going on the discussion board. It's difficult while it's set up once a week, you have deadlines. It's an awful lot of work to follow up with the discussion at the last minute. And so I encourage you at least every other day, if not every day, to go on and spend 20 minutes checking in with what's going on the discussion board, so that you can participate in a little more organic sense instead of trying to rush to get your participation in. I will grade all those within a few days of the dialogues being submitted. If I have any issues with what your participation looks like, you'll hear from me in a comment. If you're just seeing a grade go in there, then it should be a high one if I'm not providing any additional commentary. Typically those online discussions are going to start on a Friday, where the prompt and the readings will all be posted by the following Wednesday. So you have over that first weekend, you're going to post your personal 500-word response, and then over that Sunday, 4 days later, the dialogue will cease, and I'll start grading on that following Monday. So we have 7 units. They're overlapped somewhat because each Friday we're going to launch a new one. So it's a tad confusing. So I gave a typical schedule in writing on the syllabus, and once you get into it, I think you'll get with the flow. It's designed with the objective that people who have to do a lot of the work on the weekends are able to do that. So each unit has 2 weekends, essentially. We have 2 papers that are going to happen in the course that don't happen on Moodle. They both are going to be emailed in. One is the Big Orange Splot midterm paper, which I referenced earlier. There's a description for that in the syllabus, and that will be a 5 to 6 page double-spaced paper that you'll email to me by the deadline located on the syllabus. We also have a final paper that's the reframing paper based on the Bowman and Deal text, and that should be a 5 to 7 page paper. There's a full explicit explanation for that on page 11 of the syllabus. There's a course breakdown that's really only 4 categories: your field experience log, your online dialogue is about 49% of your grade, your Big Orange Splot midterm paper, and your final reframing paper. So pretty straightforward in terms of grades. You'll have a lot of small point Moodle discussion grades, and then the other papers are somewhat bigger. You see the standard boilerplate after that, and a course calendar, which I want you to pay particular attention to. There's due dates for the beginning, when my posts will be posted on Moodle. There's a post deadline, which you see our first one is on Unit 1 there. That's when you need to post your original 250-word response to the readings. And then there's a critique date. You see our first unit doesn't have one because it's an abbreviated unit, so you're simply just going to be posting your responses. But in Unit 2, you'll have your first full cycle, and you'll both be posting your original response and critiquing the responses of 3 classmates. For each section on the course schedule, you see a topic, what we're covering. You see the readings that are due. The readings need to be due by the post date, because your post is going to respond to those readings. And you'll see that there's usually some book sections in there, as well as an article. Those articles are going to be located in Moodle under the heading of that unit. And you also see an assignment due. Typically that's going to be a Moodle discussion, and a couple of times in there that's going to be a paper that's going to be emailed in to me by midnight on the due date. For the very first assignment, we have a couple of things we would do. First, in discussion 1A, I want you to post a brief biography of yourself. Since we're not going to be sitting in the same room together this semester, I find that's useful to get to know each other and build a little bit of community, and I find I go back in there when I'm curious about why somebody said something, I want to learn about them. And so please, by the post date for week 1, place your biography in discussion 1A, as well as posting your 500-word response in discussion 1D. There's also discussion B and C on there that are for personal sort of social hangout space, and you want to just post items, and one is for course questions, which you can send me by email, but if it's a question that might be generally available, I might want to post it on there so other students can read it as well. The discussions continue all the way through. You see that in the assignment due column there's also FE due dates. So in a week, we don't have one until Unit 3, but then we have a whole bunch in a row. In those weeks, you're going to need to have written up your field experience as part of your post that week. That's how it's going to be graded. And so that field experience, the first one is the Models of Change field experience, and that's going to be due on the post date for Unit 3. And so that way, you need to plan backwards to have that done in advance, so you have time to write it up and put it in with your 500-word post. Some of these you might do well in advance. For example, the professional development session you can conduct at any time during the semester. It's just not going to get submitted until the final, until the due date where that field experience gets submitted. So do read through all the field experiences, and if you want to conduct them all the very first week of the semester and then write them up right away, and then just remember to paste that into your post each week, that's fine. You see a deadline down at the bottom for the final paper. That'll also be submitted via email instead of on Moodle. After the course calendar is a sort of full description of the final paper, as well as the field experience list I referenced earlier, and the directions for applying for your live text account for those of you in a principal certification program. That concludes our review of the syllabus. I look forward to interacting with all of you online, and if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to send me an email at bbabout@uno.edu, and I look forward to working with you all this summer. Thanks.